My name is Carly Cagle. I am a freshman here at the University of Mount Olive, majoring in agriculture education. I am from Asheboro, North Carolina. After graduation, I hope to find a job teaching horticulture in North Carolina.
My name is Kimberly Chapman. I'm a freshman here at the University of Mount Olive, majoring in agriculture education and minoring in agriculture business. I'm from Raynham, North Carolina. After graduation, I hope to find a job teaching animal science either in Eastern North Carolina or Western North Carolina. Dr. Stephen Edwards is currently an assistant professor of agriculture education here at the University of Mount Olive.
He has worked within the agriculture industry for the past 20 years, from being a high school agriculture teacher and FFA advisor to a professor here at the university.
Dr. Edwards has been a resident of Eastern North Carolina since 2012.
The way hogs are grown in this country is through contract growing. They're getting these hogs from an integrator, and they're raising the hogs on their farm, using the farms that they have. Now, in this state, we have a moratorium, and we have had that in place since the hurricanes in the 90s, that says that we will not add any more hog facilities in this state than what already exists, unless they have, the different special technologies that they could use. It's scary. It reminds me too much of tobacco litigation that I remember from the 80s and 90s. People see hog farming as we have a chance to make a buck, so we're going to sue. Unfortunately, the optics do not look well for hog farming right now because hog farms are mostly owned by farmers that are white. I mean, most farmers in North Carolina are white, and most of the people that have sued have been minorities. So the optics look very, very, very awful for our agriculture industry as a whole. I'm scared to death because what will happen is, as some of these court cases that have happened and the hog farms have been held liable in the court case, this is only going to spread to other areas of agriculture. Let's look and see what's going on with these folks. Number one, if you were to take all of North Carolina east of Interstate 95, and if you were to subtract out New Hanover County, which is Wilmington, Carteret County, which is Morehead City, Beaufort, Atlantic Beach area, and Dare County, which is Kitty Hawk, Nags Head, if you were to take those three counties out, you're looking at the poorest state in the United States if you were to add up all the demographics for everywhere else that exists. These people are looking for an opportunity to help rectify some of that. Also, yes, we're dealing with technology that hasn't been updated in many years. I mean, you're dealing with a technology that, when you're talking an open air hog lagoon, yes, they've been very effective. We put in a lot of fail-safes after Hurricane Fran and Hurricane Floyd to prevent some of the damages that we've had. Actually, our hog lagoons have held up extremely, extremely well with two worst storms when it comes to rainfall. First with Matthew, and then with Florence. There was more rain that fell on hog farms during those storms, but you did not have the breach or the problems that you had with the storms that you had in the 90s. But still, you've got to figure out a way of. No one wants to live next to something that stinks all the time. I mean, that's true in all walks of life. And just because someone is poor doesn't necessarily mean that they should be exposed to that. I get why this suit is appealing, but let's tackle the actual cause first. Taking and sticking it to a farmer who's having to contract grow, or to a company that's hiring contract farmers. I mean, the farmer is made out to be the bad guy in this situation, and the situation's a lot more nuanced than that. Well, we're going to have to address the main issue. The main issue is how are we going to deal with waste? The reason we have such a problem with waste with hog farms in North Carolina is because we do raise them in confined units. Now, we raise them in confined units so that we can have better production. We raise them in confined units so that we can keep an eye better on our product, and we raise hogs in confined units so that ultimately we're providing a better product for the consumer. However, when you concentrate a lot of anything in a small area, it's going to produce a lot of waste. We're also importing most of the feed that we're feeding these hogs from other places. Well, the hog is not going to take and you convert all that feed to growth. So now all of a sudden you have all of these nutrients, all of these chemicals that have been brought primarily from the Midwest, because that's where we're importing most of our feed at from hogs, but we're putting back out onto our land. And these hog farmers can only spray at certain times of the year so that they don't ruin the soils that we already have. If you can figure out a way to take and get these nutrients to lands that actually could use the nutrients, that will be a big benefit. Now, granted, you're talking about something that is costly, and to have a true solution to this problem is going to cost some money. The industry itself could be more proactive in what we do, and our legislature could be a lot more proactive in helping out some farmers that are in some of these situations. We have some technologies that would help improve some of our waste removal systems. They're costly. Yeah, it's a big part of it. But if you're 60 or 70 years old, you're not going to want to change the way you're doing things. Especially if you've been doing something the same way for 30 or 40 years. I mean, people are creatures of habit. I think the more we adapt new technologies with all areas of agriculture, the better off we're going to be. We need to, and that's something we need to look at ourselves as an entire industry to see what we can do to adapt some of the some of the technologies, maybe we ought to question ourselves. Why are we doing certain things a certain way? I mean, and it makes people uncomfortable when you start talking about farrowing crates, when you start talking about having 10,000 animals under one building. So those are the kind of things that we're going to have to look at. When I was your age, hog farms were very secretive about what they were doing. They didn't want anybody to come onto their property. Now, a lot of it is because the hogs themselves, they would get disease from the humans that we would track in. But that wasn't very well explained to the consumer. And it's very easy to make a video of somebody dressed up in a suit like something's wrong, even though you're there and you're trying to protect the animal. And that's not the way that it's shown. It's not the way that it's done. But we've got to get back to your original question, Kimberly. We've got to embrace new technologies that we can make not only more efficient, but to do things in a way that makes sense for our environment. We cannot continue to put out hog waste on soils in eastern North Carolina long term without having a buildup of trace elements and trace materials. If we overdo that. And people who don't pay attention to soil reports. Most farmers do, but there's some folks that don't. We're going to have to. I mean, we have people that want to eat. We're going to have to feed them. There's a lot of waste that currently goes on in the industry right now that we've gotten a lot better at that. We produce more food than we have ever produced. As a country, as a society, nobody has even come close in world history. But we've got to get better. It's very likely. What's the difference between a hog and a chicken or a cow? They all eat and their waste has to go somewhere. It's very likely that will happen. And that's the reason we've got to get better at it. And we need to look at it as a product that we can take and use, not necessarily. We've got to look at a way of using that product better.